As I've spoken about in the past, I've encountered and tried to speak with multiple women of various ethnicities, religions, so on and so forth. But generally, when you get turned down by one, you have to go and proceed to find other ones on your own. Now, the stranger occurrence in relation to one of, I guess, recent or more modern era in terms of my own. So, the way I'm trying to construct this is prior to meeting this person a short time ago, I was not visible. A person of this nature did not exist in my mind. So after she had initially accepted my proposal, which, as I have to clarify, because people seem to have this thing about not understanding when you just say something and kind of make it to where it's obvious, um, I proposed forming an actual relationship. I'd yet to realize that commitment and some of these women just don't go along. But that also exists across both genders. But I'm just saying, before I get accused of sexism, you get accused of a bunch of stuff. But that's a video for another day. So in the course of speaking to her, um, she turned me down after accepting, mind you, and then in the course of interacting after that, she said that it is very funny, Miss Morgo. She proceeded to, I guess, try to ascertain what my attempts were at that point. It's kind of similar to how when a lot of those failed players that don't make the league still keep tabs on what that team is doing. Except in this case, it was someone who turned you down, so then they're still trying to figure out, oh, what's going on? What's going on with this? What's going on with that? And it was always bizarre to me because I figured by saying no, you have confirmed you have no vested interest in seeing me succeed in this endeavor. As you know, that by saying yes, I would have succeeded. So it becomes kind of a confusion to have that result from that. But anyhow, she proceeded to ask if I wanted her to get involved with helping me locate uh, women or something of that effect. I thought to myself, one person might see that as nice, another person might see that as kind. Part of me saw it as condescending, the other part saw it as almost willfully ignorant, and it comes along with this idea. The person whom is offering their assistance is the person who, if they had gone in that one role, um, and let me respond to Black Butterfly. Just because a woman doesn't want to be with you doesn't mean she doesn't want you to find some. I didn't say that. My logic here is that typically after being turned down by a woman in general, or women in general rather, they'll go their way. I go my way. There's very little interaction, typically none at all. And if we do interact, generally the topic of romance, whether it be theirs or mine's, or when I was trying to do it with them, is prohibited. That's cut off. Again, in TFL, so that doesn't really bother me. But what irritates me is they will always try to hook me up with someone who is not my type. But that's kind of my thing. I can't understand where they would know my type better than I do. And I've been a person who I feel is very flexible when it comes to things. I've talked to some women that were into politics, others that weren't, some that were into the news, others that weren't, some that were into music, some that weren't, some that I thought were academics, some that were into alternative topics. My point is that I feel very diversified in what I'm willing to gather when it comes to the viewpoints of others in this game of trying to interact with the opposite sex. And I really want there to be no mistaken belief system when it comes to what I'm discussing here. I saw this situation as unusual because it hadn't happened before. In the course of knowing and approaching and meeting dozens of women in the past. So there was that reaction that came from something unprecedented. And what is this? Yeah, this video's that's another thing about recording this stuff when you have on your phone and then some notification comes up and takes half the screen, and then you almost click it and it'll switch the live stream off, and then detractors like Black Butterfly and so clap, happy that the stream has ended. And to answer Mr. Brown, or I'm sorry, well, Miss Brown, I'm not sure. The name caught me off guard. I am not a vegan. I hope you don't take offense to me calling you out of your gender. That was unintentional. So when I see those new names, I get all tripped up. Um, oh, yes, but kind of to go off of that, to going into this thing of the different types of individuals I've interacted with, I actually encountered a vegan during these pursuits, and from what it appeared, there was no, and we had no actual quarrel over me not being one and her being one. But I thought it was really interesting how you can have a person who has an alternative lifestyle from yourself that you would think would conflict. How could you eat Wilbur? How could you eat? You know, some are like that, some aren't. I'm aware. I'm not saying all of them are that way. But I thought it was interesting how it seems the people who have the biggest differences from me are more willing to try amending those, or you know, compromising or ignoring or disregarding something that is very much the polar opposite of myself. Case in point, I had one woman that was my complete opposite when it came to political views. She was a Trump supporter, was over there in one of the battlefield states, and she didn't really make it that big of a deal. I didn't make it that big of a deal. We aligned on, I guess, most just positions in general. But it's one of those things where I would say that other ones I'd known were more in line with my views, and they still found something they didn't like. It's this thing where almost, if even if you go and appeal to them on 100 different things, if those two, three, or one that they feel are more important than the others do not stick together, you get tossed out. And I was trying to get the this chick that was willing to help me out, and if someone's offended by that, I'll say woman, whichever. We'll be interchangeable. I just have a poll about which word to use as to not offend, because people get upset with that for some reason. She suggested to go and look up on YouTube the marriages are hitting record lows for a reason. Yet TFL, it's because a fear of commitment on the part of both genders. That's another topic I shall go into very soon. I never thought in my entire lifetime that people just chose not to, even if they were in relationships, just not to actually be committed, not to give just nothing. That surprised me this year. I had no idea the worms were that deep. And again, that's not an attack on one gender. It's just commentary on both. You know, that is incredible to me. So think of that comment as foreshadowing, because that will definitely be touched on in a relatively short amount of time, either in the next few days or maybe even today. Who knows? Um, she suggested to go and type up some topic of, because I told her we had similar views. She goes, "Oh well, look up this person." I said, "Okay, I'll look up that person, and what? Do I go in their comment section saying, 'Ooh, you look so good, take me out'? What am I supposed to say?" And at that point, she stalled because she realized that doing that was not conducive to actually changing the scenario. So I was very amused by that suggestion. That's not the first time she did that. Another time she said, "Oh well, if you like this trait about me, look up this topic on YouTube." Like I'm supposed to go into comment sections of videos, say this person seems to align with this view, must send them reply. Who does that? I don't. And I'm not necessarily knocking those who do it, because I'm sure someone's tried that. But ideally, I'm not going to go and take, some significant portion of the day to just go and search through dozens and dozens of comments, depending on how popular the material is. And these were really her recommendations. And there's this part of you that says, oh, you want to feel thankful because, oh, the person is claiming they care about you. Yeah, but then the person would have done what is they see is bothering you, which is form this relationship. Then if you complain about it, you're called entitled. You're trying to force them into something. I had her say I willed her into it. I used my mythical powers to to have her agree to this initially, and then back run for the hills and back out a couple of days later. So I really don't know which part of the aisle I line up on when it comes to just my control and influence and various factors that supposedly led her to make that choice, only to rescind it, within a couple of tens of hours, or dozens of hours, or however long that would have been. My mathematical skills are not the subject of this topic. So I'll have something else up in, if not today, by tomorrow. Probably on that topic of what TFL said about marriages hitting a record low. Ooh, I cannot wait to delve into that. That if there is one thing this year alone, in terms of just interacting with people, not even just women, just people in general, seeing other men in their romances, that is, yeah. I'll have to disagree with you, Butterfly. This person and I spoke on the phone for hours daily, and that is a gesture that I have not been able to see copied with any other woman and myself, barring maybe one, and that still was someone that I ended up thinking I had chemistry with. So I have to disagree with you on that, but we'll get on this topic in the upcoming stream on what's it gonna be called. It's gonna be called the reason why marriages are hitting record lows, and or just commitments or something to that effect. One of those titles will be used, and I expect it within the next day or two, but definitely in a very short span of time. So thank you for watching. Have a good day.